Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts. And so this is overnight market prep for Wednesday, June 11th, getting ready for Thursday, June 12th. I'm going to be going over the usual tickers, which includes the volatility, S&P 500, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. But then I will also be going over GameStop, Unity Software, Intel Corporation, Oklo, and oil, because Gareth Soloway was talking about shorting oil, and since then it's gone up. So curious about that. Don't have a position in it, but yeah, like I said, just curious about that. And I will open up the chat for you guys to share your thoughts, questions, requests, and I'll make it visible to myself once I've gone through the list. Going to try to stream for just an hour because I got work in the morning, so we'll try to get through these tickers a little bit quicker. And also, yeah, sorry I missed last night's stream. But it also kind of got me thinking maybe I want to do these like every other night rather than every single night, just to kind of keep the balance. And yeah, it's been a good day. I changed the oil on my motorcycle, so feeling good about that, but I still have more work to do on it. So, anyways, you guys aren't here for that. You are here for the charts. So, let's begin with looking over at the UVIX, which is the 2x long VIX futures ETF, which closed today above $25 at 25.37 today, up about 0.83%. But then if we do look at the after hours, up about 1.5% more. And then the overnight from this close, it's up about 82 cents or 3.23% above $26 right now. So looking like we got a pretty nice bounce here today. It did hit a low during the day of 23.63. And I had previously talked about 25, this purple line here. And then beyond that, I was talking about further downside, maybe to 17 or getting down to 20 before then. But maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe we are going to start to see a bounce that could lead to some upside moves like we saw over here, going up almost 40%, or maybe even something as big as this. As my understanding is, the reason why we're seeing more volatility or a spike in the volatility here, over 260% move to the upside. But so my understanding of why we're seeing a spike in volatility is because of tensions around the world. And so I'm just going to look at maybe some of the details here. Volatility, ETFs spike on renewed Trump tariff threats. I thought there was something related to Iran, but maybe I'm mistaken about that. Maybe there's going to be more info on the VIX and or the SPY news list. So we'll have to check those out, pay attention to those as well. But yeah, the VIX, the UVIX here does look like it's spiking if we look at the 10-minute time frame, so we can see how it traded during market hours, hitting that low of 23.63 before bouncing sharply. I believe this would be around, let's see, I'm just making sure. This would be around 2 o'clock, about 10 to 2 is when we hit that bottom, and that's East Coast time, before bouncing up, pulling back to around 25 and then continuing higher, but pulling back some into the after hours, closing, like I said, at 25.37, but then going up to a high during the overnight trading session of 26.40. So maybe we see it get up to 27. Maybe we start to see it break out into the 30s. And if you guys are curious, I did add to my position at 25. Now my average, believe it or not, is exactly $32. So, I'm kind of feeling like I should be more aggressive down here, but the idea with this is to not be so aggressive so that I can just be stacking, and then when there is a big move like this, I can take a nice little bit of profit. So yeah, don't want to be throwing too much at it. So just kind of hanging out, waiting, seeing what happens. But yeah, and then let's look over at the VIX. This is the market volatility index that the UVIX is based on, as well as the VXX. I know that's another popular VIX tracking ETF. But the VIX closed today at a price of 17.26, up just about almost 2% on the day, whereas the UVIX was only up 0.83%. So the VIX performed a little bit better. See that we have this nice wick to the downside here, coming down to 1623. Then bouncing, closing higher. But we also had a pretty big wick to the upside. So that looks kind of like, a spinning top or, almost a doji. But we did, let's see, open at 1704, closed at 1726. So we didn't open and close at the exact same price. But we did get pretty, close with the big wicks, relative to those wicks. That open and close, that difference is not that big. But yeah, this did come down below 17 as I, noted that as a level. And so now, basically the VIX, the volatility is getting pretty cheap when it is below 17. And but it can also reside below 17 for some time. Here on November 5th, we closed at 2049 and then it gapped down to close at 1627. Spent a good amount of time below 17 before this massive move, but there were some spikes between there. And if we do look at the UVIX just to kind of compare, there were some nice spikes in that time frame. And also, before I skip over to the S&P 500, I should just look at the volume on the UVIX. It does, there's a pretty big spike in volume here as we're hitting these lows. So, maybe that's a little bit concerning, but it does kind of suggest that, people are buying, stepping in to buy here. And let's see if we just switch over to the 1 hour time frame, just out of curiosity. So big, candle here at the beginning of trading for the day. So that's not really too surprising. Orders getting filled, as the market opens. That makes sense. And then, big candle here. Let's see. Both of these candles are just under 3 million shares, 2.9 here and 2.96 over here. Big candle here corresponding with this big move up. So yeah, it does seem like the bottom could be in or near with the volatility. And that means that the S&P 500, the stock market, likely going to be rolling over, but maybe not. Volatile market could be volatile to the upside and downside. And looking over here at the SPY, this is the S&P 500 tracking ETF. Closed still, down, but above $600. So closed at a price of $601.37. Down about 0.29% on the day, but then in the after hours, in the overnight, now trading at right around $599. So now it is below 600, having hit a high today of 605.06, but then pulling back. And the all-time high that we've seen is 611.39. So maybe, what we're seeing, maybe now it's kind of a fake out before we start to see moves to a continuation to the upside to take out these highs, but maybe we actually don't get there. No idea. I meant to mention the news on the VIX. I'm just going to look at the news here on the SPY. So Trump plans to set unilateral tariffs on countries in 1 to 2 weeks, and that's coming from Bloomberg. And then SPHQ, SPY headquarters, I'm not sure what that means, a potential core component of a truly competitive portfolio. Stock futures slip as S&P 500 snaps 3-day rally. Consumer price index, CPI, that came out this morning, I believe. And so I think that's kind of why we saw, inflation is, it's rising to 2.4. And so that's lower than expected. So I think that's kind of why we saw markets go higher earlier in the day, but then, as we were seeing rolling over into the after hours and overnight. Now I'm just going to flip back over to the VIX just to see what news has gone over here. Same thing here. Basically the same stuff that I was just reading, so not going to go over that again. But yeah, looking at the SPY, where could this be pulling back to if it does come down lower? Where could it be finding support? I would say right around 590, that yellow line there. If it breaks that, maybe right around 580 to 582, which corresponds with kind of like the consolidation lows over here. This level was tested a number of times. Lots of swing opportunities based on that line, that being a buy level up here, and then to just swing it to the upside over there. So yeah, 582 down to 580 could be an important level, but we could also be coming down to this purple downtrend, which would be around 570. I've definitely talked about that level, and that does seem to correspond with a confluence of levels here, really just coming down to this first gap. We do have 3 of them to the downside here, at least that I've highlighted. There might be more, I'm sure there are, but this first gap is around 564.34. So maybe price does come down to there. But just real quick, let's look over at the 10-minute time frame. We can see that in the pre-market today, so we saw this big move up. That was when the CPI data, the Consumer Price Index, came out 2.4%, and that is lower than expected. Inflation is lower than expected. So, that's, good for a rally. But then we did see this pullback following, whether it's tariff news or I thought there was something related to Iran, but maybe not. I am not exactly sure. But this has faded lower into the after hours and the overnight, hitting a low of 598.37, currently at 598.92. So yeah, but then looking at the daily, just to kind of get an idea of the volume, we saw a lot of volume here, a lot of buy in the dip over here, and volume has not really been too impressive on the way up. Maybe that means we're going to start to roll over. I'm not really sure. And, while this may not stand out too much, actually, like this, it doesn't really stand out too much. But if I do zoom in, maybe it does. We can see that we have higher highs in the ETF price, whereas we have lower highs in the RSI. And so that is going to be bearish divergence. So that does suggest that we could be seeing a pullback. Like I said, maybe 590, maybe 580. Worst case scenario, in my view, would be like a pullback to around 570. So do keep that in mind if it does pull back. But again, maybe this is a fake out and we do take out those highs, getting back to, 611.39, which was the high from February 19th. So, yeah, upside potential there, downside potential, I would say as low as I would expect to see it at least this week would be around 570, but we will have to wait and see. And then, just kind of comparing this with the SPX, which is the S&P 500 index, which closed today, again, just like the SPY above 600, the SPX closed above 6,000. So I think that is pretty good. That does suggest some strength in my opinion. It did close red, down 0.27%, closing at a price of $6,022.24. There's no after hours with this. There's no overnight unless I was to look at the futures and stuff. We kind of get that just by looking at the SPY. As the SPY, has pulled back more, I suspect we might be seeing a gap down tomorrow, whether that's the SPY, the SPX. So I would look for that. 6,000, where I got this alert here, that's going to be an important level, and then maybe coming down to this red line here, which does correspond with the same kind of red line over here. That would be around $5,865, corresponding with the consolidation lows over here. And then we do have that purple downtrend, which could be bringing price down to around $5,700. Maybe doing what I have doodled out here, but maybe not. We will have to see. And since, maybe I am going to be right with that, but maybe my timing was just off a little bit, I'll just adjust it to be over there. And we can see if that does play out. That would suggest the bottom being around June 19th, which I believe that's Juneteenth. I have the day off from work that day. I'm not sure if it's going to be observed for the stock market. And so that would potentially be happening then on the 18th or the 20th. I'm not exactly sure when that, which day that will be celebrated on. But anyways, let's look for, upside potential. I guess I should note the all-time highs here for the SPX was $6,147.43. And then, so that's a upside potential, downside potential, I'd say like 5,700, or getting to this first gap here, which is around $5,660. So keep those levels in mind. But yeah, I'm just going to flip over to Bitcoin here real quick. Does look like maybe we're putting in a top here, but maybe it's a bull flag. I don't know. It does kind of look like a bull flag. But rather than looking at it over here, which does not have closes corresponding with GMT, the closes correspond with East Coast time over here. So I think the candles can get a little bit different than what most people are looking at with Bitcoin. So I am going to pull up the chart here in TradingView. This is the chart that I go over every week during Crypto Corner Sat Stacker, as well as 17 other cryptocurrencies, including Ethereum, Dogecoin, and a handful of others. So make sure you check that out if you're interested in like some deep dives and basically what I'm doing with crypto. But what we can see here with Bitcoin is it did hit, a high, it looks like on the 9th of January, of around $110,650, right around there. And then since then, we've just been consolidating around that level, right around 110,000. But we have seen a pretty big pullback. So today, on June 11th, we saw a drawdown of about 1.5%, closing the day at around 108,700. And we are trading around that level now. It looks like 108,600. And so, whatever happens with Bitcoin, I think long term, it's going to be a really great performer. But, I could potentially see this coming down to this yellow line around 106. I believe I have a limit dip buy placed at 98, but I kind of doubt that will be getting filled. But, I will reassess that on Saturday. Maybe I reassess that level to be 106. Maybe something else. So you'll have to tune into that to get my perspective on it. But yeah, I think that we could maybe be seeing a little bit of a cool off with Bitcoin. My understanding was following this big rally that we've seen, a lot of shorts were liquidated. Now everybody's getting over leveraged long, I imagine. So we will have to see kind of an equal and opposite drawdown to liquidate those over leveraged longs. And then we can start to go higher. Once all of the people with too much leverage get liquidated, then we can start to make the moves. And I do believe that the Genius Act, the stable coin bill in the US, is very close to getting passed. And so I think that could be a great catalyst for Bitcoin and crypto in general. You might wonder why I would think that. And the reason is because USDC or any stable coin kind of facilitates on a lot of exchanges the exchange or the purchasing of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatnot. And so if there is more regulation with stable coins, that really is just, being able to buy USDC or Tether, that is just kind of like the on-ramp for people to be able to exchange in crypto, to trade that USDC for Bitcoin and then sell the Bitcoin back for USDC and whatnot. So I think that could be really good for crypto. But maybe we actually start to see a little bit of a pullback, maybe into the weekend, and then next week we really start to rally. I have no idea though. I just think that these are going up over the course of the rest of the year. And so Ethereum actually had, I would say better performance than Bitcoin. We did, form this consolidation over the past about a month. Yeah, going back to May 10th over here is when we started to consolidate here. We did get to new highs regarding this range. So the prior high was from May 29th on Thursday, it looks like, and that high was $2,789.50. But then we actually got a close higher than that, I believe above 2,800. So we closed on June 10th. At, $2,816.50. And then today on June 11th, we did pull back a little bit, but still closing, pretty high up relative to where we've been trading. So if it did do something, like this, pull back and then bounce, that could actually be a really nice look. Oops, what did I do? There we go. And I just want to delete this dot that I put there. There we go. Yeah, so maybe we could see a bounce and a retest and then bounce of that level that I have drawn there. Maybe I actually just want to extend it a little bit more so we can see that bounce, that retest. And yeah, I mean, I think that Ethereum is very close to getting into the $3,000 range. And if it does get up there, could be heading up to like 3,400, 3,700, maybe getting back to these highs around 4,000. So I just think, yeah, I think that Ethereum has a lot of potential upside. I feel like more so than Bitcoin, at least, in the, 2025 timeframe. A lot of people have been bearish on Ethereum. That makes me really, actually bullish about it. So I'm excited there. And then kind of related to crypto, but not, I'm going to segue back to the stocks. First, wanted to talk about GameStop real quick here. It does look like, closing bell movers. This doesn't say anything about GameStop here, but we can see here. GameStop shares fall after company plans conservative notes offering, and GameStop hints at next Bitcoin buy. The stock is tumbling. And so, yeah, I mean, that might not seem like such great news as far as the stock price goes, but generally, like I was just talking about with Bitcoin, like I was talking about with Ethereum, I think they're going to be making, I think Bitcoin's going to be making new all-time highs. I think Ethereum will as well. I think Ethereum could close the year around 8,000, if not maybe 6,000 still. That's a new high, and that's a lot of upside potential. Regardless of Ethereum, Bitcoin, GameStop is adding to their balance sheet, and that's why they're, doing this convertible notes offering, is so that they can have more capital, presumably, to buy more Bitcoin. And so I think that could actually be really good. But what we do see, let's see, I'm just going to remove the drawing so it's not too cluttered, is what we do see over the course of the day, we did come down about 5.3%, closing at 28.55. I have talked about 28, kind of this lots of levels here. And but then after close, we got this news. And if I do, let's see, we got this alert here. So that's at 26. So maybe that gives us some perspective. When I do switch over to the 10-minute, we can see that we are now below that alert at 26. Hit a low during the after hours of 24.83 and then bounced a little bit. My average for GameStop happens to be just below 26, and I did sell a covered call for this week with a strike of $36, and I don't think that's going to be getting closing in the money. No big deal. I made $50 with it, and with half of that 50, I put a limit buy. Excuse me, my lip itches. I did put a limit buy at 25 to get another share, just one share, so nothing crazy, and that did get filled in the after hours. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of chill, sit back and relax. I do intend to roll my covered call into next week, but I'll probably do that on Friday, or maybe I'll just sell a different, open up a different selling a different covered call on Monday, but we'll have to see. But anyways, I did kind of want to pull up some options data with this, because something that I had noticed, I've noticed this with GameStop, AMC, whatnot, meme stocks in the past, is that, here we're looking at calls on this table. And if we look at, a lot of these strikes going up to $60, $61, let's see. And we can, look at the June expiration, $125. So that's pretty crazy. June 20th, $125. So I actually want to look at the data on that specific contract because it's extreme. I want to see when that contract was created, because I think that, when you see a lot of contracts being created that are way out of the money, that is kind of a way, from what I've seen, to distract retail from getting contracts that could close in the money to buying them way out of the money. It dilutes the capital to extremely out of the money calls that are definitely not going to be getting filled. They end up expiring worthless, and all of that money ends up going into the market makers. And so that's not really good. Want retail to be making money. And so I do think that was kind of a sign that this could be rolling over. And so I'm just going to pull up, let's see, the GameStop data here. I really just wanted to, let's see. I didn't want to look at this much. I just wanted to search GameStop up here. And then I wanted to look at the expiration for next Friday, the 20th, call, and the strike that I'm curious to look at is that 125. So I'm going to add that over here. Not that I'm interested in it to buy or anything like that. I think that's crazy, but I just want to look at the data here. I want to go back, let's say, 7 days. Okay, so this did exist 7 days ago, 14 days ago, 2 weeks ago. I guess it did as well. Maybe this is a bad example, not proving my point at all. But I thought I saw some contracts that were just recently added. So maybe what I want to do is do the 13th call and do that $61 strike. See if that was added more recently. Yes, this was added more recently. And so I feel like this is, to distract retail. So this is showing 45 days here. Let's bring it back to 14. That was created like a week ago. Let's come back to 7 days. Yep, less than 7 days ago. Last week, this contract was created. So people are like, oh my gosh, GameStop could be going up to 80 or 100. I'm definitely going to buy, the $61 strike calls because those are definitely going to go from deep out of the money into well into the money. And I'm going to make a fortune. I'm going to become rich. But then that doesn't happen. It just distracts people as the stock price goes down. And then it's just like even more contracts that expire worthless. So market makers like Citadel get to, rake in all of that cash. I believe I pointed that out. I didn't dive into it like I did just now. But I think that was kind of a sign that GameStop could be coming down. But, really, it has done what I have suggested here, pulling back here. In the after hours, we are down around 25, or in the overnight, I should say. But, we'll have to see where we open up tomorrow. I guess some levels that I would say I would imagine important. The low over here, 25.67. Maybe we trade below that tomorrow. I suspect we will. But I think that's going to be an important level. We want to see us closing. Closes are really important. We want to see GameStop closing above 25.67. And if that doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. We've seen, fades and, whatnot. So maybe it would just be, another couple months, maybe another quarter before we start to see some moves higher, really driven by, quarterly OPEX options expiration, which is OPEX. And, starting to get like some gamma squeezes. And talking about gamma squeezes or gamma ramps, actually, before I get into that, I did just want to point out this uptrend here, this purple uptrend that does go back to, the levels over here. Just zooming in on the chart, kind of tough. But this is the low from May 24th, and then the low, it's got to be August 5th. And so that's how I get that purple line. Did act as support over here. And let's see if it's acted, came back to here. I had drawn this yellow box thing and price might come down to there. Did fake out, break below it before, starting to make our moves higher. So maybe we come back to that level. Maybe we come back to this green dashed line, which is Roaring Kitty's average as far as his last YOLO post, which is around $23.41. So, maybe this comes down to, as it is already, 25, maybe down to 23, maybe down to 21.69. This level I've talked about ever since May of last year because that is the 786 from this retracement going from the low here of 995 up to the market hours high on May 14th of 2024, which was $64.83. So yeah, I think it'd be totally fine to see a little bit of a cool off. Following that cool off, we see Bitcoin start to rallying. We see GameStop start to announce that they bought more Bitcoin, starting to learn more about their strategy with the business, and seeing it start to move. Part of that money, raising that money, those convertible notes, is for capital investment or acquisitions. Maybe they buy PSA or other related acquisitions. So I don't know. I think that this could be just chill out the next couple weeks. Don't worry about it if it pulls back. Hangs out around 25, and actually 25 has been an important level that has been kind of tough for us to break above in the past. I believe, there was a little bit of support around here. I don't have any good levels drawn up on the chart to suggest that, but 25, quarter of 100. Yeah, I mean, that's where we're at now. So it's an opportunity to add lower than the 30s. And, a year from now, we may look back and be like, man, I wish I would have bought more in the 30s. I wish I would have bought more in the 20s. And, we're getting that opportunity again to buy in the 20s again. So no worries. Don't worry, be happy. Okay, and now just going to look over at Unity Software. This is one that, I had talked about this coming down to $24 a share. It came down to a low today of $23.90. Not exciting at all, but I added one more share to my position. I believe either yesterday or today. I think it was yesterday, and maybe I placed another order. I bought another Unity contract that expires in January. I believe it's a $65 strike. And that's just a swing, nothing too crazy. But now is kind of the time when it's not exciting to buy. This was the time when it was exciting to buy. And when it's exciting to buy, that's actually the good time to be selling, to be trimming into that upside, to then be able to buy those shares back on the downside. Maybe we're finding some support here around this orange uptrend, which does correspond with the lows from over here, going back to August 7th, I guess, of 2024, so not the 5th. And then these lows are from November and did kind of fake out, break below it a few times here before ultimately breaking below it. Now we're back there. $24. While it was cheaper, it was nicer to get, at 15 up to $20 a share, but 24 is definitely cheaper than 30. So, I like Unity Software. I think that this is a good longer term hold. And I think it's just nice to be adding a little bit more on pullbacks, and so I'm really excited about where it's at. And I might just look over at some of the contracts, and actually the contract that I do hold, this is one that I did hold, which I sold it, and I would have, lost a lot of money if I had held it. So very bad to be holding contracts to expiration. Oops, you can't see this because Ed's in the way. But this is the $42 call that expires in June. You could also see that up here, $42 call that expires in June. So 8 days from now. So not this Friday, but next Friday. This, like I said, is not the contract that I hold. The one that I am holding now is the $65 call that expires in January. I believe yesterday I had bought one of these at 60. So, this, I don't know if you can see the faint line going across there, 60. So I was one of these little dots, but, I was just one contract, so nothing too crazy. So I would have contributed to one of these candles. And actually, I don't know what time I bought at, but I think I did place a limit buy for one at 50 cents, and I can actually check that on my phone if you guys are curious. Let's see. I do have a limit dip buy for one of these at 50. If that gets filled tomorrow, great. If not, no big deal. I'm just going to expand this graph so we can look at it a little bit closer in this next page, because I believe that there has been some pretty interesting or exciting Unity price action or contract action, I should say, the past, week. We can see that this is net call and put premium. So the net put premium is in red. The net call premium is in green. What we saw over here is this red coming down. That's the selling of puts. Could be suggesting a bottom. That's down 1.76 million, whereas net call premium was down about 1 million. That's the green line here. But yeah, it's kind of been, up and down. So again, nothing too crazy. If we look back the past 14 days, we've seen something a little bit more exciting with net call premium here on May 30th going up by 5.6 million. And then over here, we see on May 28th, net call premium increasing by 10.8 million. So both of those days suggest, a lot of bullishness. And we haven't seen, or at least, if these add up to, the green coming down adds up to 10 million, but over here we saw a drawdown of only about 2 million. So it does seem like the majority of the contracts here, which I could dive into, it just take a little too much time for the stream. But I imagine that this is just, longer term calls that, I suspect as this cools off, maybe we see some more of that, maybe some more selling of puts, the red coming down here. And, then we could see this launching. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited about the dips that we're seeing now coming down to 24. I like Unity. And then another one that I've really enjoyed a lot. I have covered it a few times on the channel, but it just hasn't been that popular. But that is Intel, ticker symbol INTC, closed today at $20.68, down over 6% on the day. And it did kind of get rejected from this orange line that I've drawn up here, right around $22, corresponding with like the wick high, or not even the wick highs, like the consolidation highs over here from, let's see, January 21st and 2nd. And so we kind of got rejected from that level over here. It looks like got rejected from that level again. But there's been a good amount of chatter about Intel, and actually not too much today, but yesterday when we saw this big green candle. So on the 10th, it looks like the stock price went up 7.81%, going up by $1.60. And with that, I'm going to pull up some more unusual whales options data. And man, I need to go over GameStop Max Pain, so I'll do that after Intel. That's something that I wanted to look at. Forgot. There's just too many things to cover, and I get sidetracked. Like I'm getting sidetracked like right now. So I wanted to look at Intel call and put premium. Just going to expand this again like I did with Unity. And so for the day, we didn't really see anything too crazy. We did see net call premium increase by about $500,000, whereas net put premium decreased by 1.2 million. So both of those being bullish, we can see here the bear bull slider is majority bullish, about 43% with some of it neutral. But if we go back 2 days, hey, we see good amount of calls going up here. And so yesterday, it looks like the net, the net call premium increased by $8.67 million yesterday, quite a lot. And then just like compare that to this red line down here, basically flat. That's the net put premium. That only increased by 400,000. So, 400,000 in puts versus almost 9 million in calls. So that does seem, pretty bullish, although that was buying into the stock, which was yellow when that was going up, calls being bought. So, right now, those calls that they were buying are probably cheaper now, but, calls, it's all about time. So I suspect that this is, just suggesting that Intel could be going a lot higher, longer term. And on the longer term, I did want to pull up what I had shared yesterday, this post from Free Wyckoff's. Is this chip stock about to explode? Wyckoff theory range. And this goes back to the 90s, I believe, which is actually kind of similar to the analysis. Not really similar to the analysis that I did, but this green line that I have here, that's a 786, 1886. And so I might actually, because it got kind of wonky over here, I might actually pull up this chart in TradingView. I haven't done any drawings on it, or at least I don't believe I have. So I'm just going to pull up Intel Corporation, look at this, and let's go back in time. And so let's see, what's this axis on? Regular, okay. Okay, so what I'm going to want to do is switch this to the weekly. And we can see this go down quite a bit. And so that level that I've drawn, I'm just going to go back in time. I guess I'll have to switch over to the weekly on here. So yeah, what's that low over here? I think that's, I'm just going to look at the data on it. What was that low? The low was 692. What does that correspond with? See, it's gotten wonky over there. So, or the 692s, yeah. So right around here. So like following this pullback, hit a low of 623, so not 692. But yeah, I'm just gonna draw fib from that low. Sorry for going in and out. I'm just keeping my eye on that one. Up to the highs here. Hopefully I get this right. I believe it was this candle here. Up to here. And then I might drag this. Oh, actually, no. I went back too far in the past. Maybe we'll see a 692 over here. Sorry about, I'm not the best with trading view, just trying to zoom in here. So what was the low here? Not 692. Dang it. I think that I did want to have it like that maybe. But that doesn't really, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're at that red line, which is the 786. And yeah, so this is just like a historical level. And yeah, I mean, I could even, I don't know if I want to do something like this. No, that doesn't work. So yeah, I mean, there's that. And I don't know. I thought that this would be nicer than what I had done in Webull, but I guess it's not. It's just more complicated. I'm spending too much time on this. But yeah, I mean, I think that Intel is, at a very good price and could be going up a lot. And that is really what, has gone over in Free Wyckoff's over here. So I encourage checking that out. I think it's a great video. And then the next one on the list is going to be Oklo. This is one that, unfortunately, I'm not holding anymore. Do I regret? I guess a little bit, but, I got forced out of my 1 share position, so not that bad, not that big of a deal, because of a stop loss. And so my stop loss was hit, I believe, on June 4th when we had this wick down. Or, no, actually, maybe it was over here. I think my stop loss was around 48. So I got pushed out at the bottom here. Kind of sucks. Could have made 20 extra bucks. But, whatever. As the stock price did go up, closing today, Oklo at a price of $68.03, up nearly 30% on the day. We did get, let's see, some news. Why Oklo stock rocketed almost 30% higher today. And then Oklo stock climbs to all-time highs on Wednesday, but shares are pulling back after hours. What's going on? And so, let's see, you can see it just above my little window over here. Oklo launches $400 million stock offering after surging to record high, all-time high. Yeah, man, I'm a little bitch for not holding to the new all-time high, but whatever. Don't fall in love. But yeah, I mean, they did raise $400 million, pulling back now to 65, still well above where I sold at. But you got to manage your risk, and the only way you get better at managing risk with stop losses is by using them. And sometimes you get forced out of position, sometimes you don't. I got forced out of my 1 share position, so no big deal. And I did have this line drawn up here to 71. And I think that I would have had a sell at like 69, which would have not been filled because the high today was 68.91. If we look over at the 10-minute time frame, the high was 68.91, so that wouldn't have been filled. So yeah, no big deal. No big deal. Pulling back. I mean, Oklo just seems great though. So I got an alert on it, and congrats to those who are holding it. And actually, I mean, this is doing, what I doodled there. I just got stopped out there. I should have made my stop loss. What I should have done after this low at 45.05, I should have made that my stop loss. But talking about this, I'm learning. It's a good lesson there. But I've seen, let's see, the chart guys, trend spiders, lots of people posting about this. Also options data, I believe Orlando is posting about it. But this, cup and handle. And so with that being said, what we could see now is a pullback to like these highs and retesting them as support. And so I do have this line here at 56. That's for above. Now I'm going to change that to below. And I'm going to leave this one at 40 because that's kind of the one I was keeping an eye on, but then I'm going to delete these other two at 28, 27. Not happening. But yeah, it's been a fun one trading. I like it. I'll probably still cover it because I like it, but I'm not holding it anymore, which is unfortunate. And then one that I did want to go over real quick is oil. Gareth Soloway, during his game plan, talked about oil being at an interesting level to short. I did not open up a position, but one thing that I've noticed, whether it's with him or with anybody, people tend to open up positions a little bit early. There's nothing you can do about it. And let's see, do I want to look at futures? I don't know. MarketCom, I guess. ProShares, crude oil, ETF. I don't know. I'll just do this one. But this has been rallying, so I don't have anything drawn up on this. But yeah, today, June 11th, this green candle, this is now the futures for tomorrow, did go up 5.5%. And so Gareth was kind of talking about, this being a level of, resistance, thinking that this is going to pull back. He was wrong, but that just means that he's probably adding to his short position. And so that could just mean that there's a really nice trade with oil. So I'm going to just be seeing what he has to say about that tomorrow morning. But the way to trade oil to the short side, there might be another way, better way. But the way that I am familiar with is with SCO, which is the ProShares Ultra Short oil ETF. Let's see, looking at the profile here, ProShares Ultra Short Bloomberg Crude Oil ETF. And this is 2x inverse, so getting a little bit more exposure. So like this came down today, 6.6%. In the after hours, down even more, 1.72%. Trading, I was looking at it this morning after I saw Gareth's game plan, around 18. Now it's around 17. How much lower is it going to go? I'm not really sure, but maybe we could draw some lines on this that might suggest where it could be going. But this is also, a leveraged inverse ETF that tracks a commodity. So good to take it with a grain of salt, whatever I put up here. But let's just do a casual little trend line here, going back to the closing price from April 4th, and then just drawing it along here. Kind of seems like there's a little bit of a downtrend there that's more or less been respected. We've had, multiple tests, beginning here, up, down, testing it again, and then now we're back there. And so maybe if this goes up, which would mean that oil goes short, goes lower. So, yeah, I don't really know. I don't have an order placed on this. I don't necessarily plan to place one, but I'm intrigued by it. And so I just wanted to share that. Yeah, and I guess from the low over here to this high, you can do a Fibonacci retracement just to see where price is at. Maybe it could come down to right around like 1675 is the 786, corresponds with the lows over here. So maybe there'd be a double bottom formed, and this could be going to the upside if oil is going to the downside. So yeah, maybe this is fun. Maybe this is a bad idea. I have no idea, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting, so wanted to go over it. And before I forget, since I've forgotten this whole time, I am going to look at the Max Pain for GameStop for this week. Just going to refresh the page so we can see that Max Pain for this coming Friday is $29.50. We're still notably above that. So GameStop here, it looks like in the overnight, 25.34. Is that correct? Looking at the chart over here, 25.35, 25.34. Yeah, right around there. So we are, I was thinking 35. No, 25. This is 29. So we're closing. Probably going to be closing this week below Max Pain, but next week it's 26. So if we do start to, roll around, bounce, maybe we could start to get into like gamma ramp territory again, starting to close above those Max Pains. But right now, looks like we're heading lower than it with the price at 25 and some change. Max Pain is 29.50. So good to keep that in mind. And then next week, like I said, 26, and then back into the just below 30 ranges. But yeah, I'm just going to open up the chat so I can see it, see if there are any requests over there. NASCAR All Out, what's up? 7 a.m. runners have been clean this week. Nice, congrats. KLTO ran off 7. So this is all from NASCAR All Out. KLTO ran off 7 a.m. PR on Monday, press release on Monday. EVGN off 7 a.m. press release on Tuesday. I believe that's what press release PR means. HSDT off 7 a.m. press release today. And so I'll open up those charts, but I probably won't have much to say about them. Not typically the kinds of stuff that I look at or try to trade. But KLTO, Claude Neuroscience sounds interesting. And let's see, EVGN. This is Evogene, also probably a pretty interesting company. And then HSDT, which is Helios Medical Technologies. Lots of biopharmaceutical stuff there. And so yeah, let's start with the KLTO. Looking at that one, very nice. Where could this be pulling back to? I would just do, very, very much arbitrary. I'm going to try to line it up with the low over here, at least around 16 cents up to that high. Maybe it pulls back to around $1, and then it could maybe do another run. But, in my view, this is just like gambling. But maybe it does find support around the 618, which is around 160, 159. Currently in the after hours, or I guess not currently, but in the after hours, it was at 150. So yeah, maybe it does something, if not here and go up, maybe it goes down to here and then goes back up. But a very good way to lose some money, because maybe neither of those scenarios play out and it just comes back down to here and those arrows suck. But just, from current price coming back down to these levels here to fill that gap, that's an 85% downside move. And, so that could liquidate, a position pretty quickly. But that's just the hopes of it doing something like this, 1,700% move to the upside. So pretty massive there. So nice if you're able to make some money on that. Then the next one is going to be EVGN, Evogene. Gap up, pullback. So really just kind of like the same thing that I did before. This low over here, 107, going up to this high. Sent about a 50% retracement. That's around 174. It does look like in the after hours it's down to 162. So maybe finding support around the 618 at around 159. But it could, like the other one, be coming down to the 786 around 135. And it could also be coming down to, fill this gap here. And that would represent, from, right around this level, or 62. So I'll try to line it up. This is where it was at. Coming down to fill this gap. That represents a 30% drawdown. So not as bad as the other one. But still, a lot of risk, a move like this. But it could be, doing something like this, up, pull back, and then maybe it does another move. Maybe it doesn't get to a higher high. Maybe it gets to a lower high. But still, even if it doesn't get to a lower high, a pullback to around here and up to here, it's 30% move to the upside. But yeah, risky in my view. And then the other one is going to be HSDT, Helios Medical. This one actually came down. I'm just going to see what NASCAR's saying. Just wondering why look for where it's going to based when it on a 20x move. The play was already on Monday. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, so you were already in the play. You're already out of it. So you're just sharing stuff that was successful for you earlier in the week. And on that note, did you short HSDT? So yeah, I mean, I thought you were curious of my perspective of where it could be going, but if not, then, I won't even worry about that. HSDT, it does seem like there is a gap up here now, but I imagine that you were shorting this. So congrats if you did. The forward-looking idea, past 3 days, there have been 7 a.m. runners looking for the next 7 a.m. runner tomorrow so you can get in at the start of the move. Okay, so do you think that HSDT would be one of those? But yeah, I mean, I don't pay close enough attention to the market to be looking at stuff that's presenting really nice moves so early and stuff. But yeah, a pretty big gap down here. Let's just see. To right around current price, down 66%. So that would have been nice. I mean, are there options with this? No options. So personally, I don't short stocks, but I buy puts every once in a while. Yeah, which going short right now seems like generally it could be good, maybe for the rest of the week, maybe through the weekend, but holding anything over the weekend, you never know what's going to happen. It could be volatile to the upside or downside, so tough to say. But yeah, those are some pretty crazy charts. If I was in any of those, I probably would have taken profits well before those big moves to the upside, or on this one, if I was in puts, I guess I would have just had an order filled, right at open, because I just have a limit, and then, options are, based on open to close. But this one does not have options. So, but yeah, NASCAR saying, I personally don't short stocks. I'm only long biased. Cool. Yeah. And for me, generally, I mean, I'll buy puts on some stuff. Like I have very small positions. Like I'm risking at most, I think $33 on Plug Power and I think like $10 on ChargePoint, but I have puts on those that expire in December and August and December. And if those go to zero, it's not a big deal. I'm not being too aggressive with them, just kind of experimenting with a thesis that I had. And then, just like hedging with the UVIX. But I personally have a really tough time going short, unless it's commodities, because, yeah, I mean, commodities go up and down, but like stocks, companies, there could be, yeah, I guess even with commodities, there could be some news where things go up. It's possible I'd pick up a short on oil with SCO, but probably not, to be honest. I'm trying not to spread myself too thin. And Dan has a question. Can we trade at this time of night? If yes, what platform? So, yeah, I mean, it depends on the exchange, but this is something that has been fairly new. Some stocks can do it, some stocks can't. They have overnight trading. So basically, let's see. So when the market closes, which is at, is it at 4 p.m. Eastern, then the market remains open for after hours trading until 8 p.m. Eastern. And that's for a lot of stocks, I believe the majority of them. But then after 8 p.m. Eastern, some stocks have overnight trading, and those can be traded, I believe, on most exchanges. And so this is Webull. I have done some overnight trading via Webull, where you see the charts. Robinhood also has overnight trading for stocks that do have overnight trading. And the only difference is, though, so for me, basically the way that I trade, because, I'm at work during the day, not in front of my computer. And so I just place limit orders at levels that either are based on technical level or, just where I'd be happy to take a profit or start buying or, whatever. So I just place limit orders. But for the overnight trading, those limit orders don't get filled. I have to place a specific order for overnight trading. And so I've seen this more so with Robinhood, but I'm just going to let's see. I'm just scrolling on my phone. I'm not going to show you my phone just because I don't want to show you positions or anything but when you hit the trade button, there's, it says trade options, sell, buy. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't really know how I'd share that without with it because everything that you guys see is in reverse. But yeah, it's trade option, sell, and buy. And then so if I wanted to place like a buy order, I hit the buy button and then, could do number of shares or whatever if it's a market order, market price, estimated cost. And let's see. Okay, so I was just looking at it with AMC, which doesn't look like they have overnight trading. GameStop in the overnight is trading at, let's see, 25.25. If I wanted to buy, I hit the trade button and then trade options, sell, and buy pop up. I go to buy, number of shares, and then there's, let's see. I don't know if, I could do like phone mirroring. That's an option on my computer. I just don't want to share too much. But, I could place an order, and then there's a trade now button, which I believe would be for overnight trading. That would be an immediate fill if, placing a market order. Or I could do queue for later. And then that would be getting filled, I believe, when pre-market opens, which would be at 4 a.m. Eastern, I believe. But yeah, Robinhood offers overnight trading. It just depends on the stock. Webull offers overnight trading. Just depends on the stock. I see people trade at 3 a.m. stocks under $5, but E-Trade doesn't allow, so maybe Webull. For me, for my trading, I use Webull. I just don't do it on the desktop just because, for videos and stuff, I just try not to draw the line. Like, I try to draw a line there, so it's like I don't want to, accidentally have a position shown or anything, even though I do talk about positions sometimes. Just don't want to have maybe account number, whatever exposed. Robinhood is the other one that I do trade with. I do all of that trading on my phone. I do have a Moomoo account, but I don't really use it. And I'm not sure about Moomoo, but all of those I believe would have overnight pre-market, and then depending on the stock, overnight trading. And E-Trade, I'm not sure, but it might just be like if you're placing a buy order or a sell order, if it's whether it's market or limit, there might be an option to specify when you want the order to be filled. Like a lot of times, like if, let's say I have a limit buy order filled, like so for today, I had a limit buy for Unity filled at 24. And let's say, it came down to 24. I'd like to look at the charts on my computer and really dive into them, but I see this line here at 23.66. Maybe I'll place a buy order just for the day, that when either after hours closes or market hours closes, so at 4 p.m. Eastern, that order's canceled. If it's filled, it's filled, but if the market closes, then that order gets canceled. And the same type of, time frame preference you can have with an order. You can specify, do you want to include extended hours? Or like with Robinhood, I believe you can have orders placed for market hours or extended hours, which would include pre-market. That begins at 4 a.m. Eastern. For me, that's 3 a.m. I'm in the Midwest. So it'd be from 4 a.m. Eastern to then 8 p.m. Eastern would be market hours and extended hours. But then if I wanted to place an order during overnight, I'd have to specify that separately. So you can do market and extended, or just market, or you can do overnight, but you can't do an order for all three. at least from what I've seen with Robinhood, I don't like to place orders during after hours or pre-market, because I feel like there's just not enough volume, and price could, if things are at a discount, then yeah, I might be buying them. If things are, ripping up higher, I wouldn't be chasing them to buy. Maybe I'd sell. And then same with overnight, it's just even less volume. So I feel like it's, good to look at it, like right now, GameStop is down over 11% in the overnight. It was also down around 11% in the after hours. So that's not too crazy, It seems just like GameStop's going to gap down tomorrow. But from that, it might bounce. From that, it might also bleed. I don't know. But it seems like it's kind of, if I look at the 10-minute, it's selling off here, and then it's just kind of held. So I don't know if it's going to continue or what, but like tomorrow when we wake up, if this is a lot different than 11% down from yesterday, than the close, then, maybe it's that move is going to be like, let's see, this goes like this during the overnight, but then during the pre-market, people, like, it spikes up because maybe people they wake up and they see, hey, the stock price is down a lot. I'm going to buy the dip. And so with very little volume, they're able to push the stock price higher. But then, let's see. So that happens. And then it's like, oh man, but I wanted to buy at 25. And now, it's floating up around 26, getting close to 27. So I'm going to place an order during the pre-market. But then once the market opens, it comes back down. So, I think it's, crap, I meant to exit that. But yeah, I think that, people can get like faked out or misled by what's going on in the charts, whether it's pre-market, overnight, after hours, just because there's less volume. So it's more retail driven. And, if retail gets excited about this dip, they could push it higher, but, may not be followed through once the market opens. And then, so NASCAR, I'm not going to be able to continue on with all those because I got to get closing this down. So KLTO closed at 20 cents on Friday, hit a high of nearly 4 yesterday. So very nice. It's too much. But hopefully, if others, are interested, they can check out what NASCAR's writing there about CARM, VTAK. And then Dan saying, yes, this happened to me. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So I just if it's let's say, if, GameStop, I want to buy some shares at 25, let's say. And then because of this news, it gaps down, maybe let's say I want to buy 10 shares at 25. Maybe what I do is buy those 10 shares, but with the plan of, I could buy 10 more if it goes lower, or buy those 10 shares at 25 because that's what I wanted to do. Whether it's after hours, overnight, pre-market, doesn't matter. 25, that's what I wanted to do. But if it then starts to go up a lot in the after hours or, pre-market, whatever, overnight, then I wouldn't want to chase that. I'd say, it came down to 25 before. I'm not going to because it could just let's say I want to buy at 25, but I didn't have an order placed. Man, I missed out. It went below 25 and now stock price is going like this. I would not chase that in the after hours, overnight, or pre-market. I'd wait to see what happens when the market opens because this could very likely happen. And then I'd get that fill at 25 for the 10 shares and I'd be happy. Or, what I could do is if I wanted to get 10 shares, maybe I just buy 5 here at 26. Maybe I missed 25. If it goes back to 25, then I'd buy the other 5 shares my average would be 25.50. That's not so bad. So I think it's kind of good to like work out those different scenarios. But if you feel like you missed out on a move like this, it might be good to just wait on the open and really like 15 minutes after the market opens, see what's going on. Usually those first 15 minutes tend to be pretty volatile. Let's see. NASCAR saying you don't see the connection though. 20-cent stocks do nothing. Then suddenly one runs from 20 cents to 4. It's not coincidence that 20-cent stocks fly like a rocket ship the rest of the week. I think that's probably related to shorts getting liquidated or something like that, having to cover, and they're in different positions, and so it just kind of like domino effects with them. And I feel like something like that's kind of happened with, I've noticed that there's a little bit of an offset between like GameStop and Unity Software, that like GameStop has tended to lead, whether it's to the upside or downside. So Unity Software might be going down some more. I think that in so many ways, the stock market's very much connected. It's like, people will go on about, AMC's manipulated or, GameStop's manipulated. It's like all stocks are manipulated. And so there's going to be a lot of like, whether it's a sector or it sounds like from what you were talking about with those, they all seem to be like medical, that it's a sector thing. And that there are just spikes, and that could just be shorts covering, and then things launch, and then it settles back down. I'm gonna have to end the stream though, just because I gotta get ready to bed. My eyes are pretty dry; they're closing and stuff. So, but I will be streaming tomorrow, as long as I'm not like super dead tired or anything. But I think I should be good. And I'm gonna bring Ed back. I can't believe he's been gone this whole time. And hopefully this was helpful for you guys, just going over my thoughts and some stocks that stand out to me. And I think it's going to be a pretty interesting rest of the week, and I imagine a very interesting weekend. NASCAR, thanks for joining. And sorry, and for me, I think part of the reason why I like to stream, I like to make videos, is because I have a really tough time. I have to see what I'm talking about, and all the tickers that you're talking about. It's like tough to skip through them. But yeah, it totally makes sense what you're talking about. Streaming is really, fun for me, helpful, to be going over the charts. And, hopefully it's helpful. Thank you all for joining. Joe, you're welcome. And I'll see you guys, tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll stream again. And, I think that we'll have a lot to talk about, whether it's the volatility, whether it's oil, the stock market, crypto. I'm really excited about all that stuff. GameStop will be very interesting to see where it opens tomorrow, where it closes. So I'll have to follow up with GameStop as well tomorrow. But yeah, have a great rest of your night. And, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10